We are ready to roll. It's fun doing live stuff. Get all the awkward commentary right at the intro. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to the live version of the Go Marketing Show. We have some fun new ways we're going to be doing this today. Today is kind of the first live version. We're going on LinkedIn. We're going to be testing a number of platforms because a number of our clients have been asking, hey, what's the best way to do this? So as we always say, we are going to practice what we preach. So you'll be seeing us weekly. We have some awesome guests lined up. Joe Polizzi is going to be joining us September 19th. And I'll be honest, he's kind of the godfather of content marketing. So I am super pumped to have him on the show this September. We have more guests coming, but that's the biggest highlight for now. And today, you're going to see a little bit different format. We have 3 segments on the show that when we do these weekly, we're going to go through. The first one's going to be news and some things we've learned. Then we're going to our fly section, which is fail, learn, and innovate. And then the last one, we are going to do some live prompt stuff and show you kind of a prompt of the week on things we've used, we've learned, and that we're doing now. And I'll be honest, I know Ben just updated it, but if you ever see us sharing with multiple tabs open in a window, please poke at us and we will donate $5 to a charity of your choice just for having too many prompts open in a window. So today I want to open, AI is the topic of conversation for everybody right now. It doesn't matter what industry you're in, what news channel you're on, AI is the talk of the town. But for me, the funniest thing I remember, AI goes way, way back. It has been in ad platforms. It has been active. But one of the first applications I remember was back in February of 2011 when IBM's Watson appeared on Jeopardy and racked up a lead of almost $50,000. And it made me think back on how long it usually takes something to catch on. And it's just caught up to now. We're at that commercialization point. I know, John, you looked up some numbers today on, how many people are using it, what the consideration. What'd you find?
Yeah, I found it was a survey done by a company called Constant Contact. Do you know them, Doug?
Yep, big marketing email platform.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so they did a survey with a lot of small businesses, and what they found was that only 26% of small businesses, and this was posted today, only 26% of small businesses have started using AI and automation for stuff like social media, content creation, email marketing. But 74% of small businesses in the US have said that they're interested in AI, and 55% have said that their interest in AI has grown in the last 6 months. So obviously, like reiterating what Doug has said, like it's picking up and it's picking up a lot of steam. So
it's interesting. I've seen this from a number of business owners. We've had clients reach out to us and it's like, hey, how do we integrate it? But I think for most people, the learning curve and just figuring out how do I use it is probably one of the biggest pieces. And we've been using it for almost, I would say it was 18 months. Is that a pretty fair assessment of how long we've been using it for clients? And even what we continue to learn week after week is pretty interesting. But one of the things I could tell you, if you are a small business owner and you're doing it yourself, one of the best things you can probably do is just jump in and play with it. Get into the different AI platforms and just try to experiment. Go back, watch some of our older episodes. I think if you go back even 6 months, we have some very basic tutorials, or if you can't find them, just throw a note in the comments and we'll send you some links to those episodes. But just follow along on what we're doing here today, because a big piece of what we're trying to do is just make sure it's not overly complicated. We're trying to figure out how can we simplify it so that you can apply it to your business. And the interesting thing is the more that you engage with it and interact, the better it becomes and the smarter it can become. So hopefully part of the series, we can help demystify that and help move you from that 70% that's interested into that 20% that's using it actively. Because I can tell you, it's a massive time saver. And when set up correctly, it is a game changer for how to create content, how to brainstorm even, even if you're just stuck on ideas and you need help brainstorming, it's an incredible tool. What question for you on the heels of that? Where have the two of you found the best application, whether it's brainstorming, analytics? Like, where have you found the most value in using it, both for yourself and our clients?
I'm going to set John up to answer this one, because he said something, he said it before. I don't know if he said it on one of these, but he said it to me. The biggest thing, especially for content creation, I'll say content creation is probably the place we've seen the most use out of it. But the way John described it was getting the first idea to let the floodgates just open, because sometimes you can be hit with a problem and you're spending so much time just trying to get that first roll of the snowball, and then all of a sudden once you get it, you go. And so I think John has had some pretty cool experiences with using it to find that first idea and then being able to go from there. Is there anything you wanted to add to that, John?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because that's definitely how I get the most value. And then, but I would additionally on that. So in terms of like giving you the starting point, the other thing that I use it for a lot, and Ben and I were using it yesterday, was for I guess the term would be quality assurance, and like making sure that we're not letting anything slip through the cracks. We were doing an audit, and we wanted to make sure, like, we were doing the audit ourselves. We wanted it to be like our thinking. But just to make sure that we weren't missing anything, we had ChatGPT doing the audit beside us as well, just so that we could compare what we were doing to what it was doing, and making sure that we were just getting everything that we could, and we weren't missing anything. So
Yeah.
definitely like putting your work in just to check to make sure that it's complete, and that's been a big one using AI.
It was
well.
a fail-safe. It was almost like the reverse of how we've described AI in the past, where it's like usually we use AI to get 70% of the way there or 80% of the way there. This time we had gotten ourselves 80% of the way there, and we were using it to like squeeze the last drop out of the toothpaste tube of putting we're auditing a website for a UX audit. We've done what we've done, but then it can now read links. We can put that in and say, what improvements or recommendations would you make based on this link in terms of SEO or accessibility or whatever it is that you're looking for? And we were able to get those 2 or 3 more points that we didn't think of.
That's honestly the most recently my favorite thing to do with ChatGPT is put something in and say, do you have any recommendations? That's been like I've been doing that a lot lately, just because even like I'm not saying I use all of them, but even if it gives me one thing that I can fix in my writing or whatever it is, like that's worth doing all that. Absolutely.
It's funny. I was showing you guys earlier one of the things we did with a client in getting it to take a brief. So some of these, for those who are new, like these are fairly advanced things. We're going to be breaking them down as we progress through the season, but some of this is just telling you so you have context of what it's capable of doing. But and one of the biggest things I learned this week is being able to take a transcript and a brief and being able to help summarize key points, and then take a brief and then correlate those two things to help develop the framework of a plan. Now, part of it, we need the context of the client, who they're trying to serve, some of the things they're trying to do within the marketplace to be able to refine that. But what it's enabling us to do is be able to accelerate the work process. So the things like just the manual typing it up and consolidating information, it's really powerful at summarizing things and getting down to the core of information, and then help directing what it is. But I don't know that we'll get to a point where it can just do it completely independent, because I have seen it get off track sometimes and start explaining odd subjects. So have you guys in the past, let's say a couple months, has there been any failures or times where it is just completely off base and you have to rein it in or restart?
So the failure, like the fly exercise part that I wanted to talk about, kind of parlays into the prompts that I've been working with. The failure that I found was I'd specifically been trying to use the code interpreter to analyze CSV files from Google Analytics. And what I was finding was I would take whatever data set I could find from Google Analytics, put it into the code interpreter, and it would just error out. Like it would take 10, 15 minutes of trying to, rehash the data. And then it was giving me, stuff that it just wasn't valuable. And what I realized was I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know how to communicate with the code interpreter to get the analytics that I wanted to. So my failure was just simply not knowing, what to ask it, when to ask it, and what its outputs could be. And so what I learned is that who is better to ask how to use it than it? Going to ChatGPT and saying, what are the capabilities of your code interpreter? How should I be putting the data into the conversation? And then what are the outputs that you can actually give me based on that data? So the innovation that was made from that failure was, instead of trying to just trial and error it, go to it first and ask how it likes to be communicated with. The kind of analogy you can make would be like asking your significant other what are their love languages. Like, how can I best communicate my feelings to you? It's kind of like a life lesson in and of itself. And then so now I've learned how to talk to it. And the innovation is you go into it asking it how to set the context, and then you can go as far as saying, based on the data that I've just given you, what are the best prompts I could ask you so you can give me valuable outputs? It's almost teaching you how to engineer it. It becomes its own prompt engineer because it knows how to get the most out of itself. And so I've been having a lot of fun playing with that side of things just from that failure. And that's kind of the thing I wanted to show later on when we get to the prompt part of this call.
I am pumped because we had a sneak preview. So do you think it's fair to say that ChatGPT's love language is words of affirmation?
Yeah, I think so. You find yourself being like really nice to it and saying thank you.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sorry.
Yeah. 100%. Because when it takes over the world, I want it to remember me as kind, not like, granted, Siri. I mean to Siri all the time. Like, I probably yell at her far too much because she gets it wrong. But no, ChatGPT, they nail it. Like, I'm kind to ChatGPT. I talk to ChatGPT like when I'm telling my spouse I'm about to go on a golf trip. That's probably the context that I.
It talks in first person. It says, "I'm sorry." It believes it's real. So you got to treat it that way.
It is. It will take over the world. John, what have you failed at, learned at? What innovations have you seen this week?
I was just to add to that. I told ChatGPT the other day, it helped me save hours doing something, and I told it was my favorite coworker. Not a slight against you guys, but it did not return the favor. So I think they need to program some compliments into ChatGPT so it can reciprocate the love that we give it.
But hey, it's a learning model. That's on you. You have to tell it, hey, when I give you a compliment, give me one back. See what happens.
Tell it your languages of appreciation.
I'll do that, and I'll have a report back for next week.
I'm gonna lie. I'm gonna tell it mine is gifts and see what it sends me. See if it can just hack some Bitcoin, send it my way.
Yeah.
Done. Awesome. My learnings we're going to save for another episode because some of them go into analytics, and I really want to make sure we save time. So for those of you new to the show, this is a new segment we're doing. This is probably going to be the pieces that take the most time. So if you're attending live, this is a great opportunity. If you go into LinkedIn, throw the comments. If you're on YouTube, when we have this on YouTube, same thing. Ben's going to dive in and actually show us what he was talking about in terms of how he's helping getting ChatGPT to engineer its own prompts. But if you have questions, you want to see us do things, experiment, this is a part where you can drop in, drop off. We'll be sharing these on YouTube after the recordings are done. But if you are live, it's a great opportunity to dive in, ask us questions. We can throw some things in. If you've done this before and you have some suggestions, we'd love those as well. The whole purpose of us sharing these is to build a knowledge base for everybody to benefit. So if you have tips of your own, please feel free to comment. Again, this is just to share the wealth of knowledge with everybody. So Ben, fire away. John, you might have to enable screen share. I'm not sure.
Let's see.
Again, don't forget, if you guys see lots of tabs, let them know in the comments, please.
You can bully me.
Beauty.
So this should be it right now. And some context for this, we don't want to share any proprietary client information while we do this. So another thing that's cool about ChatGPT is you can kind of set it up to do demos like this. So the first thing I asked it was, I want to show a demo of what we're doing. Can you create a dummy data set to show like what are the full capabilities of data analysis using the code interpreter? And so it kind of showed me like, it tells you, and this is obvious for anyone who's done any sort of data analytics, that the more data and the more diverse that data set is, kind of the better the results are going to be, the more complex your data analysis can be. So it went through and said, these are the the types of data we would typically want to see. These are kind of the rows that we would want to see in a CSV file. These are the demonstrations we can do. It asked me, how many rows of data would you like? I don't know. Well, how many rows of data would you like, ChatGPT? What would be ideal? And it said, okay, let's generate it with 500 users. And it showed me a sample of what those users would be, country, occupation, gender, age, and a user ID. What's really cool about Code Interpreter is you can actually see the code that it's interpreting, and it'll create it for you. A lot of code interpreters, you might have to input the code yourself, but ChatGPT's Code Interpreter is like a true no code interpreter. You just ask the questions and it'll write the code for you. So it's really user-friendly in that way. So started with user data, gave us our product purchase data with a sample of that, and user location data. So this is what we would typically input. We wouldn't need it to create this. We would input this ourselves. And then this is the prompt that I was talking about, where I said, based on the data you have now, what are the best prompts I could give you so that you give me the most valuable outputs? I don't know what I want to know from this data. I'm not a data analytics expert. I'm going to ChatGPT for the expertise on this. It knows what data it has, and therefore it knows what the best outputs can be. And now it's given me a list of the prompts that would give us the most valuable outputs and organize them into descriptive, frequency, time series analysis, text, geospatial, correlation and regression, and aggregated analysis. And this is where I left off. I wanted to set this up kind of like a cooking show where we've already had some of this in the oven. We can pull it out, but now we can get into the live stuff. It's giving me the prompts. So I can say, please respond to each prompt using the data set that you created. That's going to work. And it'll go one by one.
What this makes me think of while it's doing this is for anyone who's not like a Excel wizard, this is your replacement for having to know like all these Excel formulas and like how to do like a VLOOKUP or a pivot table or anything like that. Like you can just do this.
Oh, the word pivot table gives me chills. I'm better at breaking them than I have ever been figuring out how to set them up. So one of the things that excites me about this, so I had done something similar. We processed 2.5 years of analytics data and Google Ads data to help restructure some accounts. And one thing, just as a caveat, just do understand that some of its information is limited to its look back period. I think it's 2022 now, so September of 2022. So if there are things that have changed in how to give recommendations moving forward, you always need to look at the recommendations and look at current standards. But for the most part, I found it to be pretty beneficial in understanding, okay, now that I have this information, I know kind of what to do. So one of the next things I want to play with is just to show people how to push this to its limits is we're going to set some context. And typically before you would do any of this, like asking for inputs, now this was done as a test for prompt engineering. One of the things that's really important to do before you do absolutely anything is always set the context of who you are, what your intentions are for ChatGPT. So when it produces any analytics, it knows the general direction. And by the way, this is one of my favorites. The thing just popped up there, Ben. Like the fact that it can create its own graphics here.
Yeah.
I hope it does the heat map on this one because that'll be pretty cool.
If it doesn't, we can ask for it. That's what I wanted to do the next step of it. This is going to give us kind of the numeric summary of the data. The next step I wanted to do would be like, okay, what are the, strategic recommendations you would make based off of that data and kind of try and break it like what you just said.
This is crazy.
For the purposes of a live show, just hit stop. By the way, quick tip, like if something's off pass, you just saw Ben hit stop. If Ben scrolls back up, he can actually go in and edit the query. So if you find, hey, this thing's off pace, he's not going to do it because we don't want to rerun it, but he can actually go in and click the edit button and it'll start reproducing the data.
Yeah.
So see that little edit button there. So that's a quick, honestly, if you want to be more specific, like, oh, it's off target or it's answering questions I did not want to know, or it's asking the wrong sequence of questions, you can stop. And this is for desktop, not the mobile app. You can stop, edit the question, and ask it to process again.
Yeah.
If you do that and get an error message, just refresh the page and you'll be able to come back. So scroll down. Let's just go a little bit deeper. Let's try. So let's try to get it to produce a prompt. Say, if I want to make this information more useful, what prompt should I ask to create the perfect Google Ads campaign? Let's see what it produces.
I'm going to be taking notes during this one.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's pretty thorough.
So just for the sake of this experiment, let's just say the product we are selling is the Snuggie for a limited price of $19.99. These products will be sold on our own site. With this limited information, can you please answer the above based on this fake data set?
Make sure
I'm
you
glad
say
Ben can type fast. It makes a live experience so much better.
I like how it gives you the process before it does
Yeah.
it. Like, here are all the things that I'm going to be doing, just so you.
I found Code Interpreter really cool for that, where it explains every step of the way, like what exactly is it doing.
Yeah. It's funny. It's like the bridge between a programmer and a marketer.
Yeah.
I feel like this is what our developers want to tell us, or analysts want to tell us, but they know we just would not get it.
We'd be doe-eyed.
Yeah, we'd just be staring at them. Yeah. Much like I'm sure some of the viewers are watching ChatGPT type, although this fascinates me.
Yeah, because it just explained everything it's going to do, and now it's like, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah.
So what's really cool, like if you're an e-commerce shop and you're not using this, like there's incredible data sets that you can get pulled from Shopify stores, Google Analytics. You can layer in multiple sets. So if you want to, for example, let's say right now is a great time to be planning for Black Friday. If you have sales results from last year's Black Friday promotions, it's really cool to upload in steps, be very specific and break it down. And we'll probably do this. I'll see if I can get one of our clients to allow us to share this information. But if you can break down like, hey, here's our analytics report. Here's the Facebook ad spend report, what we saw. Here's what we had on Google Ads. I want you to analyze the data and then like help us develop a plan for this year's promotion. It'll be able to analyze keyword data, spend, like the allocations, the age segmentation, like its ability to do that. But what you need to understand is you need to treat these things very much like you're talking to an ad agency or you're talking to like a marketing manager. And the more you treat it like a conversation and work through it step by step by step, the better the results you're going to see. Because the challenge is, I think a lot of people, when it comes to working with any AI modeling tool, is they throw everything at it and they don't break it down in sequence. So you get like disjointed answers and it starts to miss the mark. So if you just take your time, much like you're seeing here, like the age segmentation, Like now it's going to know who to target. And this is just fake data. Imagine doing this like real customer data. And if you had an analyst processing this, like the amount of time it takes to go through this is just incredible. And the one other caveat I will give, like if you're a small business, you don't have a lot of this data, it's harder. So one of the things I would suggest is more like just start with where you're at. Say, hey, like here's my customer. Can you help me figure out what's a competitive strategy with my customer and how should I go to market? Like just figure where you're at.
Or if you don't have the data, could you not like set the context for your business and ask ChatGPT the best way to collect data for your business?
100%. Yep.
It'll also meet you where you are. You can give it the data that you have and say, this is all I have. Like, give me recommendations just based on what I have. Instead of,
that's good. The only problem is that can like, if you don't have that, it can be misleading. Like it may send you in a direction that's off mark. That's the only caution I would say. It's funny. My Snuggie broke within a week.
How's your Snuggie
like,
break?
how does the Snuggie break? Like, what did you do to the Snuggie that caused it to break?
There goes our sponsorship.
Yeah, done. I don't care. I like my wife puts them. I'm like, no, these are the most awkward, hideous things. My kids run around. Do you know what it should say? It says my kids run around them and end up in stitches. That's what the thing should say. That should be like mentioned 400 times.
We used to have a Snuggie somewhere. I don't know where it is now, but
granted, like I get so hot. I can't wear blankets. Like I hate being hot.
Come back to Canada. We'll solve that for you.
Okay, sweet. All right. Anything you guys would add here? I think everyone kind of gets point how we can push it. I know we can keep diving, and we do want to save some of these for other episodes. Let me just check LinkedIn, see if there are any comments going on. Where's Nithya when we need her?
I don't think we have any comments right now.
Okay, beauty.
Just such a thorough explanation.
I just crushed it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Just recap this week's episode. I mean, if you're just diving into AI, the best thing you do is play with it. As you can see by some of the stuff Ben did today, some of it's just asking questions, answers, pushing it, see where it's go. I love when people break AI and keep getting like a loop. It's like, hey, we can't process that. So if you do that, send us the screenshots. We'd love to know how you did it. If you have questions, throw them in the comment section. Guys, anything else before we sign off?
Nope, you crushed it. Play with it as much as you can. Try and break it.
Yeah, looking forward to continuing to play with it here.
Awesome, guys. I appreciate it. Until next week, everybody, have an awesome week. We look forward to helping you scale your business. We'll see you.
Take care. Bye.